Hello, welcome along. It's Wedding Help NI. This is episode 24 of the Wedding Help NI podcast. I know 24 where it's all went. Of course, Wedding Help is Northern Ireland's largest wedding platform. You can find out everything at www.weddinghelpni.com. My guest on today's episode is none other than Nanny Cat. Hello, Nanny Cat.
Hello.
How's things?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Not too bad. Podcast, you're loving it?
I'm delighted. As I was saying, I can talk for like Ireland, but with the camera rolling, I might forget my name.
So it's not even there. We're just here chatting. Tell us, take us right back. So before you were wedding, Nanny, childcare's been like, it's been your job. Is that right?
Yeah. So
did you start a Lee school, or what way did that go? Or
I actually went to uni and got a degree in criminology and criminal justice.
Right, there you go.
But it's always been children. So I put myself through uni working in a daycare nursery, in a private daycare nursery.
Right.
And then I went travelling around the world.
Was that in the city here?
It was in Antrim.
All right,
where I'm
brilliant.
from. And then, I went travelling around the world for a couple of years, and I lived in Australia as a live-in and live-out nanny for a few years.
So I'm sure that was so interesting.
It was amazing. Like, to live in a different culture and still get to do what I love I didn't want to leave. It was amazing. And then I came home and I had my firstborn, and I started as a registered childminder.
Right.
And then here I am now.
Let's come on. Well, when did you start the wedding nanny business, or when did that sort of come around?
About 7 years ago now, I set it up.
What was the inspiration for that? How did you think, you know what, weddings is the way? And I must say, it really is, anybody, like, we'll get on to it a bit, but I think it's such an important thing. But how did you get the inspiration, because you probably had no real thing of, is this a service that's
No,
needed?
I was just a registered childminder, and I was at a family wedding.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to miss out on the fun by sitting in the dark with my firstborn, but equally I didn't want to ask my mum and dad to sit in the dark and miss out. And I was like, so I was on the hunt for somebody experienced, professional, who was police checked, first aid, but equally as important, I wanted to find someone who would love my children like I do, and who genuinely loved their job. And I couldn't find anyone. And I was like, I want to give this to other mummies. I don't want other mummies to miss out on important moments. Like, I want to give that back. And it's just, because childcare is all I've ever done. It's more than just a job. It's who I am. Yeah. And that was where the Wedding Events Nanny came from.
I suppose even just back on what you were saying there now, and it's so important that all the checks are right as well, because I'm sure, like, for a couple as well, they're maybe thinking a stranger coming on.
Yeah.
Everything's important like that. Everything's fully above board as such. So that really helps as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's it. Like, that's what I was looking for, though. That person that, yes, they're a stranger, but I could trust them because I knew that they were checked and that they had done this and they had pediatric first aid. I wanted all of that, but I also wanted more. Like, I wanted that mummy. I wanted that life experience with children, not just paper.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to give it back to the other mummies.
So about 7 years ago, you started up the business, and I'm sure it's been thriving since.
Yeah, like, I thought I was a bit mad because I'd never an experience in the wedding industry at that time I set it up. And I was like, I think this is a good idea. We'll set it up and see. And it just took off. And other mummies, like, so many mummies are like, Kat, this is amazing. I wish I'd known about it sooner.
Do you know what? It's a great service because, like, as me, I bet weddings, all the time. And, like, I'm doing my show and stuff. And you can notice whenever there's a wedding nanny there, it's, it's not even that, like, even Peter there, our producer today, he plays in bands as well. So it's the sort of thing where you have children running about in stages, grabbing theatres and grabbing this and grabbing that. And do you know what? Like, we know ourselves, we're only there to do a job. You can't be all right, certain, but like, I've been to weddings where I'm doing a hypnotist show, and you have people under like hypnosis, and they're up doing Irish dancing, and there's a child coming across the front of the stage, this 2 or 3 year old walking across the front of the stage, and the sweat is beating off me. I'm going, oh no, these people's under hypnosis, and this child or even people up dancing on the dance floor, and they've a lot of drink in them, and this child's running about, and you're going, my goodness, what's going on? I think personally, if there's children at a wedding, I think it's such an important thing to have a
It
wedding
just
nanny.
helps to have that second pair of eyes,
Aye.
that extra pair of hands, just to make sure that, like you say, yes, you've got the logistics, so making sure they don't pull the microphone of the band and things like that, or
Yeah.
toppling off a stage or climbing up on equipment. There's that side of it as well.
There's lots on a hotel that, do you know what I mean? There's lots of dangerous things can go wrong. I think even for the couples as well, I've been to weddings where they haven't had a wedding nanny, and or the bride or groom, it might be their own child. And do you know what? It just makes they're really taken away from their experience.
Yeah.
I think because there's maybe one of them left with a child, and this is supposed to be a day that you're supposed to be relaxed, enjoying your day. And not saying that the child's brilliant, you're part of your day, but it does take away. It does take away from the enjoyment. I think of missing out on things, and
That's why I think it's so important, and it's a huge factor in my job. Is I want to be there and make sure that the children are a huge part of the day. Because like as a mummy, if I was getting married today, I want my children right up there with me. But equally, when I want to enjoy a moment with my husband, I want to know that they're safe and cared for, and that they're not running out an open door because Granny was talking to somebody or something. I just want that peace of mind.
I think it's awful to leave it, onto somebody onto somebody else as well. The likes of Granny or somebody at the wedding. Granny wants to enjoy herself too as well. And as you say, you're getting a great balance because you can bring the children in for pictures. You can do all that, but you're there to look after and you're nearly, because I know we've worked together at weddings. We'd be chatting. You know the routine of a wedding. Whenever the photographer's doing photos. Exactly. Whenever this is happening.
I see what's coming before it happens. Yeah.
You know exactly when they're going to need the child now.
Yeah.
And even fixing the child to make sure the child looks presentable for the photos. Yeah. That's something you can't do if you're a bride, because
you shouldn't be expected to.
It's.
I see what's coming. So like, if I'm looking at the clock and thinking, their next feed is in 3 hours, right? That's going to hit right on top of the photographer. So I need to make sure I feed them before so that they're smiling. I'm constantly thinking. But when you're there at your wedding, you want to relax and enjoy. And I'm there to take that mental load off the mummy or the guest, like, so that they can just fully enjoy and be like, oh my goodness, I didn't think of that, Kat. That's amazing. Thank you so much. Like, I'm there for that stress-free day.
I suppose as well, now, for couples as well, they've maybe never had, like a childminder or something like that. There's a lot of fears, wouldn't I be right in saying that?
Absolutely.
And so do you have like a consultation beforehand, or what way does
absolutely.
Go through that process with me and how that works?
Yeah. So whenever someone has a booking inquiry with me, I will obviously send them through pricing and things, but I will let them know exactly how the day would work, how my booking process works. I arrange a play date beforehand. If the child is quite shy and has never had a childminder or anything like that, I will do a couple of play dates if needed.
Brilliant. That's a brilliant.
FaceTimes as well, or if they're particularly shy, I record wee videos and send them. I always find out their interests and their likes, so I might send them a video and be like, oh, hi, I know you love dinosaurs. Look what I'm bringing. And I make it all fun and engaging so that by the time they meet me, yes, okay, technically I'm a stranger, but by the time we meet, I'm not really. They'll feel like they know me. Yeah. That's hugely important.
Big time.
That's exactly what I do.
Aye. And is there different packages on the day? Like there's, I'm right in saying there's like overnights and there's like, is it full days or maybe half days? I don't know. Give me some of the information on that.
Yeah, so my packages, I do have set packages. So I have an 8-hour package, a 12-hour package, and a 16-hour package. But I also have a bespoke package because every child and every wedding is different, and I totally know that. So if my packages don't 100% work, it's absolutely fine. I will make you a bespoke package for whatever hours you may need, whether it be 4 or 24. And I also do overnights, which can be added onto any timing that they want.
And what is the sort of the main ones? Do you find that you're there like first thing in the morning? I don't know, like 6 a.m. or something? Or, what time is that?
My most booked is probably my 12-hour, where I would arrive just before the ceremony, settle the kids, play with them, then get them dressed, head to the ceremony. be involved with like the photographer, keep them happy and playing during the drinks reception, do dinner, bath and bed, stay with them until the wee hours of the morning while the parents party. Or if they've added on my overnight add-on, then I would stay until maybe 9 or 10 the next morning.
I'm sure. Do you know what? I'm sure the overnight is a great option too. Like, because do you know what? Like funny, I was at a wedding a few weeks ago, and I think it was given to one of the brides. There was a child, and the child was given to one of the bridesmaids. And do you know what? I felt sorry for the girl because you knew she was ready to party herself, but she must have had to try and keep sober most of the night.
Yeah.
So it's such. Do you know what? It's worth you're worth your weight in gold, as they would say, aren't you? Like, you know.
Well, my youngest, he still doesn't sleep all night. So if someone was to say to me on a special day, here, I'll take them, I'd be that happy for a full night's sleep, never mind anything else. So it's all about giving the mummies back a bit of them to be able to feel like themselves again as well, not just mummy, but to feel like them. Like, that's priceless. I love it.
And that's on a wedding day, it's what you need, because you know you want to be able to I don't know, like feel that you know you're special, you're a bride.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you're not a mummy for a few hours, like, you know.
Well, I had a bride now after I did a full day for her, and she came up at the end of the night and she just couldn't thank me enough and was like, Kat, today for the first time in a long time, I felt like me as well as mummy, because obviously I step in and step out. But she just was so happy. She was like, I felt like 100% me. I just could let loose and be me because I had you there. And that just, it meant the world, you know.
Tell me this, is it normally just like you know, would a bride book you just for their own children, or what way does that work? Do you find that you'd be booked for like maybe like an auntie's children, or what way does that work? I suppose going through that, you know, or so.
So quite often it is for the bride or the bridesmaids, people that are on the wedding and therefore sort of know that I'm going to get pulled in a lot of different directions. I could do with an extra pair of hands. And sometimes they don't want grannies to feel the stress. Like, they want the grannies to help and look out for them and enjoy their grandchildren, but
it
not
could be something like, you know, like a bridesmaid might have children as well, so you're there.
Or guests as well, like especially guests who come from overseas, and it might be the first time in a long time, especially with everything with COVID and stuff. They haven't seen their family, and so to have that backup to know I can fully chat over dinner with all my family, knowing that my kids are safe.
Yeah,
make a big.
Is there certain numbers or anything like that? Like, as a, you know, so go through all that with me as well. You know,
so there's legal adult to child ratios, just like in a nursery.
Yeah.
So for under 5s, I can have 3. Any under 1s, only 1 of them.
Right.
But I can have up to 6 over 5s. So it does sound a bit complicated, but when we go through the booking process.
6 over 5s?
Yeah.
You're a hero. Superwoman.
Well, I have 4 of my own, so I'm used to that. You know, I'm used to high numbers of kids.
You were actually, you had one of your own as your mascot. At the wedding first, you were,
and you had a wee T-shirt with.
And it was brilliant. You were just swiping bookings, so you were off everybody. You know,
everybody walked past and was like, "Oh, is that real?" I was like, "Yep, it's my 6-week-old."
we were looking to still, you know, look, we've a baby here. If you want to book a hypnotist show, you know, feel free. You know, so you have great experience, but you know, I've seen youth weddings as well, and honestly, you can just do it in your stride. There's no thing at all. You know.
You know what it is, Dale? It's when you love your job. Like, I love working with children. It's all I've ever done. Like, when I was little, my teachers used to say to me, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I was like, I want to be a mummy. And they were like, "Oh, but that's not really a job." And I was like, "No, I'm like, And I was like, well, if I, you know, then it would be a nanny. It's all I've ever wanted to do is work with children, and it's all I have done. Like, I have a real passion for working with children, and now as a mummy, I have an added passion of wanting to give back to mummies. Like, I want to support other mummies. Like, it's just, I love it.
I honestly think, you know, whenever, like, I go to a lot of weddings, and whenever there's children there and there's no wedding nanny, I think honestly you've missed out there, because it's such a great service. It really, you know, it really is. Like, because you know what, your wedding day is so important. So really, you know, book it. I would say it's the first thing you should be looking at. You know.
I had a bride that said to me that, she's left me a testimonial after, when she was so lovely. And she, in her own words, she was like, you know, you spend so much money on your wedding day, and as a mummy, what's the point in spending all that money if you can't enjoy every second of it?
Yeah.
And having Nanny Cat meant that I could enjoy every second, both with my children, but also knowing that they were happy playing and not overstimulated and still having the best day.
Yeah.
And she got to lay her hair down. So
I think it's worth its weight in gold. So what makes your service different from a regular babysitter or like a family member helping out?
the experience that I bring, not only as a childcare provider, like with 20 years experience, but also within the wedding industry. Like, as you said earlier, I know what's coming. I see the children and childcare through a wedding's eyes. I know what's coming. I know when I need to maybe schedule in a quick feed or a nappy change or keeping this outfit clean or something as small like as during the speeches quite often can really scare little ones. They might be okay with noise outside of a wedding, but in a wedding, there's a lot of noise and it's just the eruption, when the speech is finished and everybody's like, yeah, and they go mad.
I suppose even the bands and stuff coming on and all that.
And people I see this all the time with little ones, so I see it coming. So if I'm like, know that little child, because I get to know the children beforehand, and if I think, oh, then I'll step out. And little things like that mean that people aren't missing out. The children don't get upset. I've already seen it coming.
Do you know what? For a child as well, it's probably overwhelming because it's such this brand new environment. All these people hustling and bustling around, so there's so much going on. So it's great to have that too.
Yeah, it's just having that foresight, and I don't just babysit them. I nurture them. I support them. I love them and treat them like they're my own.
We talk about little VIPs. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, every time I talk about, especially on my socials or even in my booking process, it's all my little VIPs. And that's because I believe that the children are hugely important. I mean, obviously in their parents' eyes, they are VIPs.
Yeah.
And I believe that in weddings, the children should feel inclusive. They should feel like they belong there and that they're wanted there. So yeah, I treat them like little VIPs, and they're very, very important.
But it is too as well, and you see them in the wee suits or the wee dresses in the day. And
I have shed some tears, honestly. Like
I would say
with
so,
their wee tuxes or their puffy dresses. Oh, I just love it.
And so some of them, they're great fun. Like, because even I'd be doing the hypnotist show, and oh, your dress, is you the bride
and
today?
Princess
and stuff,
shoes and all.
And they do love it as well, like that sort of way.
It's a big deal, they get so, and if you hype them up as well in the sense of, oh, you've got such an important job, you're so special. That's amazing. Your mummy's so happy you're doing this, and it's just.
And I suppose as well, that's another thing. You're there to do that because on the day, everybody's got their own wee thing going on.
Children get nervous, like when they've got to walk down the aisle. I'm there. I'm that wee voice in their ear going, look, I see Daddy. Can you see Daddy? You're going to walk down like a princess and sprinkle magic fairy. That's what I'm there to do. And before you know it, a little one that was on the edge of crying sees their daddy and has a special task of sprinkling magic to go down the aisle and off they go.
That's brilliant. So it is. Like, how do you tailor your care to each family or each child? How does that work?
Yeah, so that's part of getting to know the children beforehand. So I will ask their favourite things, likes, dislikes, what they use as comforters, if anything scares them, like the dark, loud noises, things like that, so that when it comes to me bringing my Nanny Cat special bag, which they all love to see coming, when I open it, it is full of their favourites, and they're like, oh my goodness, how did you know I love fire engines or magic wands or whatever it is, so that it just adds that level of, me, I'm excited, this box of tricks is amazing, and it just creates that level of excitement and they feel seen and valued, and I love it. I love their wee faces when they open the bag and they're like, ah!
And what about travel? Because would you travel? Are you happy enough to travel as such to around NI? And
yeah, I cover all of Northern Ireland, and I do some in the south as well. If it is really far away, like say over a 2-hour drive, I usually don't do those with an overnight, so that obviously I'm not driving home at 1 a.m. to get home at 4 or something silly. But no, I do. I cover all of Northern Ireland and parts of the south.
I think as well, because there isn't like wedding nannies, it seems to be so hard to get. So it's good that you have good coverage as well. Like, so if it was for Mana or if it was somewhere, that you're available there in them locations as well. Can you share with me a moment that really sums up what you do? A favorite moment that really sums up what you do?
It's so hard to pick just one. I think I've probably covered it actually. One of my favourites was that mummy that came to me and said that I made her feel like her. That was definitely a lovely moment. I've done a few weddings that I've done a day two as well, and I remember walking back into that day two and the little ones running over to me and be like, "Oh, Nanny Cat, I missed you. I'm so glad you're back."
Yeah.
It's all those little moments. I had a mummy text me about a week after the event, after her wedding, and she was like, "Kat, my little girl is still asking for you. Like, I
That's brilliant.
cannot
So it
tell
is.
you how special it is," because that mum in particular was quite worried because her little one doesn't usually take to people, be
And
quite
so
shy.
I'm sure that is like a worry for parents, but as you say, you're offering them sort of play dates beforehand. No, I never actually knew that, because
Yeah.
we meet at weddings and we have a quick conversation, but you
Yeah.
don't know the whole background of what's
It's really important to
involved.
me that
So
both mummy and children feel happy and
yeah,
content, and I will do everything I can to
and that's about,
make
of
sure.
course, it's as important for the child as it is for you're right, the parents,
Yeah.
that they feel comfortable as well.
Mhm.
Somebody looking after their children on the day. How far in advance should people be thinking of booking? And I would say it's one of the first things once you have the venue.
Yeah.
But how far in advance do are you taking bookings? I
I
suppose.
have my diaries for 26 and 27 open. I've
Yeah,
had a few actually for 2028. I haven't opened it yet. Um, but I would say, as I would say about any vendor, if you find a vendor, whether it be me or yourself, any
yeah,
vendor, if you think, "Oh, I really like them," book them.
yeah,
Because the worst thing that can happen is when you go back to them closer to the time and they're booked. Like, you don't need all the information to book me. You don't need to know exactly times. You can book in. Oh, look, I might need, like, what about dinner, bath, and bed? I might want you for longer, but I'm not sure. Just book in a smaller one, and you can always, as long as it's 6 weeks before the wedding,
yeah.
we can
You
change
can change
timing.
it up. I think for any vendors, and I suppose we're similar in that way. We're a bit unique,
Yeah.
like there's not many hypnotists and whatever. And do you know what? There's not many,
Mhm.
wedding nannies. Like, really, if I'm in a wedding, it's yourself you're seeing doing
Yeah.
the wedding nanny.
And I only
You
do
know,
one wedding a day.
and that's an important thing as
Yeah.
well.
I want to guarantee that if someone books me and they want to increase their time or decrease, like what if they've booked a massive package and they want to take it down or the other way around, I want to have that flexibility for them. So
I suppose going back to the numbers, this might not be something, but if you had more numbers, like say like a small toddler, you were saying like a sort of 6 months old,
yeah.
is there any way then that can you recommend, or what way does
Yeah,
that work?
so I have a few girls that I would call on
Right?
that are registered childminders who are police checked and everything that I
Aye,
would work with. So if I have more than I legally can have on my own, I have with me some nannies too. So
that's brilliant as well. And
it means there's that scope
does,
for that.
would I suppose that this is a question as well. It might be a funny one to ask, but I suppose for couples, like for a bride, you know, would she book it if there was going to be all her children, or should she be chatting to the parents as children? What would your thoughts be in that?
Yeah,
I
that
know that's an awkward question,
well,
but
do you know it happens quite a lot. And if the bride has their own children, I always suggest it's up to the bride completely. I always say, listen, why don't you have me for your children?
yeah,
I have other nannies that I can put your guests in touch with if they want to book. But if you solely want someone just for your little ones, I can do them instead of dividing myself and bringing more in, even though I can legally have them. If it's their day, I always say have one nanny for the bride, and if you want your guest to have another nanny, get another nanny.
yeah.
And then it just means that that person has 100% of your little ones.
I think the bride should always talk to, I suppose, their guests, and maybe say, "Do you know what? Hey, we're thinking of having a wedding, Nanny,
Yeah.
maybe at the wedding, because that could be helpful as well. Maybe if the bride doesn't have any children, but there is going to be children, maybe it might be her sister's children or
I have
something.
brides asking me for their bridesmaids, and I
Aye,
have like I can send out my business cards so they can pop them in the invites and say,
very good.
"We know
See, I
this."
was thinking, how would that
Yeah,
work? Because I know it's something. I suppose if it's somebody else's children, you can't really say, "Oh, I know you're bringing your children," but
yeah,
but
yeah. But this is the thing, and sometimes children aren't invited to the wedding, or they're maybe only invited for the ceremony, and then the couple might want the evening reception just to be child
yeah.
free. But I can also help for that too. I take the little ones home to their own home so that the
Aye.
parents can enjoy
I
the
suppose
evening.
I suppose as well, brides or couples, I should say, shouldn't be scared to go onto even the wedding help page and ask these questions because
absolutely.
you'll have had all these scenarios.
Yeah.
So don't be scared to ask a question. It might not be your own children, but there's going to be children at the wedding. How can you maybe say to one of your guests, look, here's a service that I know because I've seen it in the wedding help page. Do you want me to contact the lady? Do you want to contact her? It's all out there as well, isn't it?
And I'm all about supporting mummies, women. So I've had people say to me, how can I very nicely say I don't want children at my wedding?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, absolutely, I'll help with that. And I'll tell them like how sort of nicely to put it, or if they do have children. Sometimes if you have a child-free wedding, it might mean someone can't come. Like, I mean, I have 4 of my own, so if we weren't invited, if the children weren't invited, it might be that me or my husband might have to stay at home.
Yeah.
Whereas the service I provide means that actually I can go and stay and let the parents go on their own.
But as well, the children can be, I don't think you have to have a child-free wedding because as you say,
I love children at weddings, obviously, because they add an extra layer of magic.
But as you say, you can get the lovely photos, you can get that, and if it was, you can then go back to, as you were saying, you can go back to the other person's home and stuff like that. So many options.
There's so many options. Like if you're having little ones at your wedding and you're not sure whether you want them there or you maybe want them for parts of the day, just give me a shout because I have so many ways I can help that I'm sure that I can get a way that will fit what your wedding needs are.
Where can we find out about all your? Have you got a website or is it only Facebook?
I do.
Or what is it? Yeah.
I have a website. I'm on Facebook, Instagram.
How you find the group? Do you find it really good for your service?
Yeah, it's brilliant. I love the fact that there's so many brides asking questions and you can help answer. It's also the feeling of community. I love it. It's really it's really helped my business and helped me personally because I've made some amazing friends in the wedding industry, which I started as a complete newbie, like to the wedding industry. So it's been amazing. I've loved it.
I think any unique service, so like your service is unique. You're going to get questions. And it's great that a bride or a couple can just write a question and you know what, you'll get an answer back pretty quickly.
If I don't see it within a couple of minutes, there's people tagging me saying, Nanny Cat, can you help? And I'm like, absolutely.
And that's brilliant. And I even think our own wee community page for the background page, it's great that we can all, if we're at a wedding, we'll be talking and we know what we're doing whenever we're landing the weddings and we know that all our suppliers are there and it's approved suppliers and stuff. So tell us your links. What's your website? What's your domain for the website?
www.theweddingandeventsnanny.com is my website.
Theweddingandeventsnanny.com.
Yeah.
And what is it on Instagram and Facebook? Is it
if you search Nanny Cat on Facebook or Instagram, you'll find me.
So there we go. That is episode 24. And my guest, of course, has been the amazing Nanny Cat. My name's been Dale Thomas. Bye for now. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.